Aretha Franklin sang about it. Rodney Dangerfield could never get it. Let's have a conversation about respect. So let's get this out of the way first and foremost. You can't make other people respect you. You can demand respect, but then you might get the opposite result where people don't respect you at all if you're just demanding it. And in NLP, we like to focus on the things that we have control over. Everything else really is influence. So what do you have control over? What don't you have control over? The things that you don't have control over, then you can look at as influence. And in NLP, we also have no shortage of techniques and processes that you can use to create greater influence. But we're going to focus this video on the things that you do have control over. One thing you do not have control over is whether or not people respect you or recognize you or give you attention. The reason I wanted to do a video on this topic is because this kept coming up. It's come up with my clients in the past when I coach people, but it was coming up in this free training that I did where we go really deep into values and listening your values. And people kept coming up with this value of respect. And I was like, well, hey, that's not really a value you want to focus on, and people didn't understand it very well. And then it started coming up in my group coaching. I have a group who I coach, and we have a Facebook group, and this started coming up as well where people are wanting respect. And I said, okay, I think I need to dedicate an entire video to this because first of all, it's natural to want respect. But before I get into that, I do want to mention that if you do like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe by clicking that subscribe button right down here so you can get these videos on a regular basis. Also, if you're a little impatient and you want to know what free goodie that I'm going to give away in this video, you will find it in the description right down here below. So is it bad to focus on respect? Well, it's not bad to want respect. I would caution you against focusing on respect, and I'll explain exactly why in a moment. Let's just get this out there as well, that it's perfectly natural to want respect, and it's perfectly natural to enjoy it when you receive it. Who doesn't want to be respected? It feels good. It's natural to desire it. My point here being, it's not something you want to focus on. One way that I can explain why you don't want to focus on it is because anything you focus on, well, obviously all of your attention goes on that. You put a high value on whatever it is you're focusing on. But what if you don't get it? What if you're not getting the respect that you want when you're putting all of your attention on it and hoping and wanting that respect, but it's not coming? Then what happens? Well, we get angry, we get resentful. In fact, I just did a video on overcoming resentment. I will link that video to the corner of this video and also put it in a description below. And that's not something you want that you want in your life. You don't want resentment. You don't want to be bitter. You don't want to be angry. These things hold you back. And so if you're waiting for respect and it's not coming, then that's what starts to happen. You start getting angry. You start saying, well, people don't respect me, and you become resentful, and you wonder, well, why aren't these people giving you this? And it may not be that anyone's trying to harm you or do anything wrong. It might not be that anyone's trying to slight you at all. If you're focused on respect and you're not getting it, we tend to say, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to wait until I get that respect. Or maybe I'm going to try really, really hard to get respect, get that attention that I want. And then again, when you don't get it, it feels empty, you get angry, you get bitter, you get resentful, and then maybe you try even harder and you keep trying even harder. And the more you try and you don't get it, usually the more that anger grows, the more that resentment grows and that bitterness. And then again, that only serves to limit you. And then if you think about it, if you're only focused on respect, then are you really focused on the craft? Are you really focusing on making yourself a better person? Whatever it is that you want to be respected for, if your attention is not on that and it's on getting the attention of having that, you're not spending a lot of time really focused on being that or cultivating the craft that you want to be respected for, or being the kind of person you want to be respected for. When I was starting to get good at NLP and I started even getting the attention of my teachers and my trainers, and then I started also getting the attention of the other students, my fellow students, some of them even started asking me to coach them. This was really nice, and I wasn't used to that. I felt like I had gone a long time without being respected, and then finally I was getting good at something, and people were starting to respect me for it, and I thought, okay, great, then maybe this is my path. Maybe I should start coaching full time. Maybe I should become a teacher. And when I started doing that, I found it very difficult because I wanted to get out into that arena, the NLP world of teaching and coaching and training, and not just NLP, but personal development in general. It's a saturated market. There's a lot of people out there who want to do the same thing. So how was I going to get that respect and make that name for myself? I started doing live trainings, and I started trying to promote myself in any way that I could, because my teachers weren't giving me a shot at it, and it was not so obvious to me then, but more obvious to me now. Why would they help someone compete with them? Now, they had the respect, they had a name in the industry, a recognized name, and I did not. I couldn't really compete with them. They were so much more established than I was, and so much more respected than I was. And I worked really hard at this, and I waited. I waited for that respect. I waited to create that established name for myself, and it didn't come. And I got angry, and I got bitter, and I got resentful, and that got in my way. And it wasn't until finally I said, okay, well, what can I do that no one else is really doing? And it's not that no one else was doing it, it's just my teachers weren't doing it, and there weren't a lot of people who were really doing NLP well on YouTube. And so I thought, okay, well, that's one way that I can get my name out there, is one way that I could show people without having to sort of compete with my teachers, but I could put myself out there and teach and give away and share NLP with the world as much as possible. And let's see what that would do. The good thing about that is that doing YouTube, and I was doing a video every single day, that kept me so busy, I didn't have time to really worry about whether or not people were respecting me, or worry about, was I getting the kind of attention that I wanted. I was working on trying to make really good videos. And if you've seen my really old videos, I say really old, about 5 years ago is when I started, they are not great videos, but I wanted to become better at this. So I really focused on the work, and not just the work of sharing NLP with people and finding better and better ways to explain it, but I focused on the channel itself. Like, how does one grow their channel? How do you get views? How do you get subscribers? And so I focused on that. And before you know it, it started to happen. I started getting comments. I started getting emails. I started getting requests to be a guest on podcasts. So gradually over time, it started to happen. So what happens is respect is more of a byproduct of building the craft, of becoming the person you want to become, and putting your attention there. And then the respect will come, and sometimes it'll come in ways that you least expect that it would. When it comes to achieving what it is you want to achieve, or when it comes to becoming the person you want to become, and you feel like you want respect or you want attention, well, first of all, do a value solicitation on it. That is the best thing you could possibly do before you start taking action on something. It is very, very important to take action, but it helps so much when you have some clarity around it. And if you think you want respect, I would say you probably don't have enough clarity around what it is that you want. And that's the question you want to ask yourself. If you want respect, and you seem to be focused on that for whatever it is that you want to attempt to do, whether that's opening a business or just in general becoming a better person, whatever that means to you, or, I don't know, accomplishing something for your own personal satisfaction. If you find that you're putting a lot of attention on wanting respect, I would ask myself, is that necessary for what it is that I want to do? For example, if I want to run a marathon, which I would never do because I don't like to run, is that a personal goal? And if so, do I need respect? I mean, of course, like we already said, everybody wants respect. I want respect. But is it something I need in order to achieve that? And I would say in almost all cases, to run a marathon, no, it's not. Again, it would be nice, but it's not necessary to achieving that. So separate whether or not it is required to have some sort of attention or respect. Now, if you're starting a business, that's different. If you need to be known, you need to get the word out for the services that you're providing, say for a business, Well, you do need to get known. That's what we call marketing. And you do want to build respect in the form of credibility so that people trust you and your services and whatever your product is. So you have to, first of all, respect other people. If you're selling something, be respectful in the way that you're selling it to them. And that's the first step if you want people to respect you for that. And you do need that, because if a person doesn't respect you, they're not very likely to buy from you, whatever your services are. And you need to be credible. You need to follow through on your word. Your product needs to stand up and it needs to do whatever you claim it does. And you need to follow through with whatever promises you're making. So you build that credibility. Now that's absolutely imperative. And you need to, get the word out. You can't just open a business in your basement and then say, okay, well, where is everybody? Why are they not breaking down my door, wanting to buy what it is that I have? You have to get it out there. It's like for me here with YouTube, this was my way to get my message out. So you got to find a way to get known. And as you're getting known, like I said, you need to build that credibility. You need to earn that respect. But again, I wouldn't put my attention on respect. I would put my attention on building the best product so that it's peerless, that nobody can compete with you. Following through on your word. If whatever you promise, make sure you follow through with that. And then just in general, making sure that your product does what it says it does, or that the service provides what it says it's going to do. Put your attention there, the respect will come. You don't have to go and try to demand it or shout at people, or or try to grab it, try to take it, or and so if you're building that, if you're really building that, you're putting your name out there, you're getting the word out there, you're doing whatever marketing is necessary, and you're doing all of those other pieces, you won't have to worry about respect. Respect will show up. For this YouTube channel, like I said, when I first started, I was doing a video every single day, and that was the first thing that caught people's attention. It was just, I was putting so much content out there. Now I don't do that anymore, obviously, but I've made almost 700 videos. Even if you haven't seen my videos and you know that I've done 700 videos, that gets people's attention right there. And so for some people, they might even respect that. Even if they don't like my videos, they might respect my work ethic or something like that. But it was never about the respect for me. I mean, maybe in the beginning that it was, but if I had stayed in that beginning stage and focused on respect, I would have never gotten to where I've gotten to now. I had to let that idea go and then do the things that people respect. But again, not putting the attention and focus on the respect. You don't have control over that. Put your attention on what it is that you do have control over. You do have control over making yourself a better person. You do have control if you follow through, whether or not you follow through on your word. You do have control on if it's creating a business or a product or a service. You have control over how good that is. Let's say you realize that for what it is that you want to do, whatever it is you want to accomplish, that it's not a business, it's something that's personal, but yet you still feel that desire for wanting respect. Well, that's when you really need to open this up. You need to unpack this. You need to find out what is that about. And like I said, that's where a good values elicitation comes from. Respect, oftentimes, what it's about is love, wanting love. It's about wanting attention, which I think is a kind of a low-level value that leads to love. A lot of times it's just about wanting to feel like you're worthy. And that's where we get into this area of self-worth. And if you go chasing self-worth, I've done a few videos on this as well. If you go chasing self-worth, it's a game that you will always lose in the end. Because if you think that you can increase your worth, you're trapped in this game. And the truth is, there's no such thing as self-worth. There's no way for you to ever judge how much you're worth. And there's no way anyone else can ever judge that either. There is no objective scale or rating system that can judge worth. It's a losing game if you try to play that game. If you feel like you're lacking self-worth and you try to increase your self-worth, and you might actually experience a little bit of that, then you're always playing this game of, well, I can also lose it, so I got to be on this treadmill trying to always increase it. There is no such thing as self-worth. Stop trying to prove anything like that to yourself. Let that go. Now, that's easier said than done. It took me years to finally overcome that. Like what I'm saying about the values elicitation, that is going to be your best place to start so that you can eventually find out what are your values, find out if those values are showing up as certain and solid qualities of who you are. And if they're not, then that's when I would recommend using the self-concept model created by my mentor, Steve Andreas. You transform those values into certain solid qualities of who you are, and this whole self-worth thing eventually burns itself out. So get clear about why you want respect. If you're wanting respect, it's kind of like wanting hope. Sometimes people put hope as a value. Well, if you're depending on hope, that means you feel like it's completely out of your hands. You are, in a sense, hopeless. We only want hope when we feel hopeless. So that's not a good value either. Hope implies that it's out of your control. You can't do anything with that. If you're focused on things that are outside of your control, there's nothing you can really do. So you do feel hopeless. You do feel insecure. You do feel like you're lacking worthiness. Shift your attention to the things you do have control over, and I guarantee you it will be a lot more satisfying, and respect will show up, and it'll probably surprise you. Like I said, don't fall into this trap. If you go chasing respect, it's likely to lead you to being resentful, angry, and that will certainly limit you. It is not the place to put your attention. Put your attention on what you have control over, and that will move you forward in your life. If you'd like to take this further, like I mentioned, that value solicitation, if you want some help with that, that's the link that you will find in the description. You click that link and it will give you a PDF where it will show you it'll walk you through how to elicit your values. Like I said, that it will help you create the clarity of what direction you want to go in. What I say about values, knowing your highest values, it's kind of like having headlights shining in the direction of where you want to go. It won't give you all the answers, and you do need to take action. That is really, really important. You have to take action. Taking action will get you clearer and clearer about what your values are, what they actually mean, how they actually show up, what is the criteria of the values. The values are sort of like the direction. The action gives you the feedback that lets you know if you're going in the right direction. So it's super, super important. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button and click that bell so you'll be notified when I put new videos out. And last but not least, if you can think of a friend or a family member who would benefit from this video, make sure you share it with them. Take care.